our topic today is taking your brand online. Okay, I think most of us. Okay, I've been given the second cue that we are live again. So let me rewind, press the rewind button and start again. Welcome everyone to Graduate Aspire 2020. My name is Ben Ibrahim, your virtual host for this event. If you're just joining us for the very first time today, thank you so much. Don't forget to click the like, follow, share, and basically share this content throughout the whole wide world, because we are virtual, not just in Malaysia, but internationally as well. Our topic today is taking your brand online. Okay, so we've spoken about earlier about the differences in terms of how to change the values, the people, the mindset. But we have a very, very good panel around today. 4 ladies who are very successful in their careers, great leaders, and I'm going to introduce them and embarrass them a little bit and make them blush a little bit. They're really nice people. And in no particular order, we have Dato' Hamida Ziadin, HR Advisor, Group Human Resources, CIMB Group. Dato' Hamida has many years of experience in HR in the financial industry. I'm not going to tell you the number because she's still very young, but all with the CIMB Group. She transformed HR from an admin function to a strategic business partner. So as you can hear the phone there, Dato' is always answering phone calls and making sure that everybody is A-okay. So that's her philosophy on how to do HR. She works very closely with the business to develop effective strategies for a high-performing workforce, because HR, as some of you may know, some people would see HR as where to get my claims, how much leave do I have, in terms of what is the recruitment policies, but that's still very much align everything to make sure things are on par from business to HR and that things are tangible and moving in the right direction. So very, very happy to have Dato' here as well as our other speakers. And then we have Datin Sri Badrunisa Muhammad Yasin Khan, aka Datin Bat, CEO of Axiata Foundation. She holds a bachelor's degree in science honors in biochemistry and pharmacology, University of Aston in Birmingham, United Kingdom. She has overall 25 years of working experience. Her career has predominantly been with Shell, and the first part of her career was in IT. Now, for those of you who have never met Datin Bat, you would never think that she was, no disrespect, Datin, you would never think that you're a tech person because you're such a people person. But as Datin has always said to me, because we've developed a very good friendship over the years when I worked with Axiata and also worked with her family, in terms of, she always says to me that her first part of her career was about systems and processes, but the latter part of her career was about her true passion, which is about people. So that's really, really good to have. And welcome, Datin, to our event today. And also forgot to mention, Dato' Hamida is a trained lawyer, but never worked in the legal field because she just loves the people aspect too much. And then after that, we have Felicia Tay, Human Resource Director, British American Tobacco. Felicia was appointed in this role in July last year. Prior to that, she was the Regional HR Director for Southeast Asia for Carlsberg, and she oversaw the HR agenda for Singapore, Myanmar, Laos, in addition to leading the people and organizational strategy in Malaysia. She has also worked in the pharmaceutical industry and holds a commerce degree from the University of Western Australia and is an MBA graduate from the University of Nottingham. So a very well experienced person, just like our whole panel here today. And our whole panel here today, basically what I like to call talented local Malaysians who have worked overseas, studied overseas, worked locally as well in many markets. When I say locally, not just Malaysia, but other markets as well. So Felicia, we're very honored to have you here as well. And last but not least, Ms. Vandana Rai, aka Ben. So it's easy for me to say, Ben to Ben, business to business. Okay, Talent Acquisition Director, Dell Technologies. She's worked for Dell for 12 years. She has over many years experience in working in large multinationals in roles that span from audit to managing operations, driving sales, and finally HR. She's very passionate about achieving business goals through the development of people, and that's why she's always smiling. That's a great weapon to have when you're always smiling, okay? She's an MBA graduate from the University of Ballarat, and she's also a trained accountant. So ladies, I could go on about your CV because your milestones are magnificent. I had to shorten it, so I do apologize if I missed out anything key. But let's get into it straight as always. As I said to you at the start of our conversation, we'll finish with a hashtag, but we'll start with the conversation. And this is a question that I'll ask to everybody, and I'll start with you, Felicia. And Felicia, why has branding become essential for a company to attract talent? Because when we think about the word brand, we think about, FMCG, what's on the shelf, the buntings and the promotions. we are slowly connecting it to people in terms of brand people. What's your views? Just the mute button, Felicia. The mute button.
Yeah, that was Zoom 101. Yes, great question, Ben, to start off. I think today we live in a very busy and modern world, and we've got info overload coming, at all ends. We've got information at our fingertips, and therefore I think it's super relevant, for us, to brand ourselves, because you want to be top of mind, to candidates when they're looking for employment. And as you mentioned, it's taking a leaf from the whole FMCG spectrum. We want to be the top three, the top few brands that employees think of when they choose an employer to work for. And it is the very first impression that people get, and it is the first thing that speaks to potential candidates, because the value proposition that we want to sell has to come across in that very first instance. Ben, you're on mute too.
You know what? That's the fourth time I've done that. I think I'm going to buy, I'm guilty, so I'm going to buy the whole panel, not just this panel, some food or lunch on me, because I should be making the mistake. I should be the expert. But it goes to show you it's all about making a bit of mistakes as well, which is a good thing. Great start to the conversation, Felicia. Well done. Dato' Hamida, what's your views on the question?
Okay. If you don't mind, Ben, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here about your question.
Please.
It's a good start. Okay. So your question was, why has branding become essential, right? I won't say that branding has become essential, but I would say that branding has always been essential. It has always been essential for organizations to attract talent. I mean, if you look at all these strong employer brands out there, right? And I remember that there is a LinkedIn report that said that 40% of candidates, they would consider your organizations if they know if they have an idea, what is it like to work for you, if you are a good place, for them to progress their careers. And, and of course, I think that now increasingly among the younger generations, it's about whether the values are in sync with the organization, with the individual values, the organization's values, whether it's in sync with individual values. So I think all this is very important. But the approach, I feel, towards today's branding is very different. And that's because of technology and digitalization. So if you look at it, the whole entire experience, all these touch points of everyone of us is so different. So before this is very easy. We will be having a lot of face-to-face and a lot of branding happens there. But today, that whole emotional connection or the affiliation to companies is very different. So since I'm from banking, so if I go back to what Bill Gates said, all right, Bill Gates said, banking is necessary, but banks are not. So the provision of banking services are still required, right? But now that service is changing. So for a bank, you all know that today is all through online, right? I mean, our customers will deal with us with our virtual assistant, the whole thing changes. So we need to therefore ask ourselves, I feel one very important question is, how will our brand reach that prospective employees? Because today is that emotional connection through digitalization and technology. What will be imprinted in their minds, right? Now, if the brand experience is positive and they perceive our brand to be progressive, with the times and relevant to their daily time lives, I feel that it will have an impact on whether they believe that we are an employer that their spouse, or even their children should work for. So branding, I feel, is very, very essential.
Okay, there's nothing controversial about that, Dato'. So great start as well. Ben?
Let me add my 2 cents, and I agree with both the panelists earlier. I also look at branding as the edge in the dating game. Yeah, I mean, branding is a promise you make, whether it's a service, a product, and in this case, the talent, the opportunity for them to get to know the soul of the company, for them to get to know whether their value system and your value system match. So I think branding encompasses a whole host of things. It may have come a little bit late to the game that branding encompassed the ability to attract talent, because employer branding became a buzzword a few years ago, but to Dr. Hamida's point, it's always been essential. Yeah, but you see it more and more, and I see it as a dating game. It's like it works both ways. Yeah, so how we brand ourselves and how the talent in the market brands us out, and whether our values and the way our brands mesh and the promises we make to each other. So that's how I look at it.
Okay, Datin Bat, and Datin Bat, I'm going to start with you on the second question as well, but you can answer this question with your 2 cents.
Yeah, I think it's been said why branding is important, but I can add, I think it's this whole idea of branding for employers. Perhaps start with the war, the concept of the war for talent. If you have a war for talent, then you better be out there shouting your brand a little bit more in case people forget about you. So it is a case of positioning yourself as an employer to the right people that you want to attract, right? This competitive. We all know that, and I think this term "war for talent" was coined in 1997 by someone from McKinsey, right? And I don't think it has relented in any way. It's only intensified. Even worse now, I would think, because now everybody's looking for digital talent. So how can you then, project yourself as an employer to attract these people, these very scarce people? I think enough literature is saying that the talent that people need, for example, to do digital transformation, to be a digital company is not many. Yeah, it's not many, especially perhaps in this part of the world as well. So you have then to project yourself. So I think everybody has said that you want to project basically what you do internally, the things that is geared to you internally to the external world. That's what you want to do, so that you can have a glimpse of what it is like to work for your company, whether that matches. Yeah, basically.
Great. And Datin, kindly share your advice on how talent should take their personal brand online, because I think what we spoke about earlier in the earlier panel, in panel number 2, I think slowly diminishing are the days of sending in your resume, emailing it to someone in the company. You got to make it go online and make it quick, dynamic, and entertaining, so that person can say, okay, this is the right one. What's your views on that in terms of candidate?
I think you have no choice really, but to take your brand online. But I think the question is around personal branding, right? It's about you now as a person. So maybe to all the fresh graduates or the undergraduates out there who's listening in, I think my advice is to be niche, because there is a lot of talent. In one sense, there's a lot of talent there shouting away, but you want to find a niche, super niche if you can, so that maybe initially it's difficult for people to really, for a young person to shout their brand. But over time, if you are consistent with your messaging about yourself, what you do best, I through articles in LinkedIn, through Twitter, and that sort of thing, where people can follow you because what you say, sort of strikes a chord with them, and then I think that's where your personal brand will come, right? I think it's very important actually to have a personal brand, because you can't be too generic, because like I say, you need to stand out amongst all the other talents. So you need to find that niche, very, very important. And then with that niche, what you do, I think, you strengthen it via networks. I think on LinkedIn, you have groups of people believing in the same thing or following the same thing, and you want to be part of that network and continue on that journey. Because I remember this. I remember last time, for example, when we want to look for a talent manager, for example, somebody would say, the search firm would say, oh, I know who you want, X, because he has that personal brand, right? Or if you're looking for a data scientist, somebody would say, yes, why? Because he stands out, he or she stands out. So I think that's what personal branding is important. Of course, that's not just the only thing but it's the one that you want to project. Yeah, so it's very important to project that consistent image, basically.
Ben?
Oh, this is really cute, because when you say Ben, I look at you. It's instinct. If you say so, I believe you. I'm kidding. All right. So if you look at it, right, I think for me, it's about engagement. It's engage, engage, engage. When I say this, there are two parts to it. One, the younger generation need to be very, very conscious that when they're engaging, it's an open world. Please do share what you think you will look good on you. It's a personal branding piece of it. So that's just a side note. People need to be very conscious of what they're branding themselves, or which platforms they're on as well. So I leave that to the audience to decide and to manage. But on the other side, engage, engage, engage. And again, there's so many platforms. We have for specialists, like we have Behance for people in the design group. So find a platform that suits you, because the employers of today will find you based on your digital footprint. And that's the way of the future. So where you are going to be, where you're playing at, the expertise you're going to demonstrate, the curiosity that you're going to demonstrate, the level of engagement you have, it's all going to help you get further in life. So that's really my bit. Yeah.
Okay. We'll go to Felicia, and then after that, we'll go to Dato Hamida, and Dato Hamida, which will lead to the next question as well. So that's why I'll end with Dato Hamida on this question. So Felicia, your views on this question?
Yeah, I'd like to build on what Bad and Datin Bad and Ben spoke about earlier about standing out. Because a tip I can share, which I personally look for, is for young talents out there to demonstrate a side of you that is not just about your academic qualifications, but about you as an authentic individual. So inject some individuality into your CV and your personal brand, be it multimedia photos that you share that tell us about your achievements and your passions outside of work, because we are, after all, looking for well-rounded future leaders. So to stand out amongst the rest, and we all have very short attention spans when we're looking at CVs and online branding. You need to demonstrate this authentic individualism, which will do wonders for your personal brand.
Nice. That's all. Hamida?
Okay, my advice is that to the graduates, I feel that branding should not be the focus at this stage of their life. I think the focus should be on building in terms of building their credentials. I think at this stage of their life, they should be working hard, they should be focusing on their strengths, build their knowledge, deepen their learning experience, and then the branding will follow. But yes, there will be need to also, position yourself a little bit online. But if you need to do that, then I think it is one should be very honest and one should be very authentic about themselves. And I agree with Datin Bad, they should be consistent, the messages must be consistent, their positioning, what they do best and all that. So my advice would be, if you do your personal brand, don't pretend to be someone you are not. Be authentic.
Okay, be authentic and don't be fake, as we usually say in the HR world. Be yourself, which is sometimes the hardest thing to do. Now, when we speak about brands, whether it's a brand of a product or brand of people, the word, for some mysterious reason, the word strategy always comes into play. And it's a bit of an overused word sometimes. It's a bit of an underused word, depending on how you look at it. But a very famous BAT managing director, I won't say his name, Felicia, but he once told me at Graduate Aspire that strategy is just words on a piece of paper. At the end of the day, you must give that talent, that trade marketing experience, or that SPIM experience, or whatever it may be, operational experience, to really make better decisions to move a business forward. So, Dato Hamida, how can a strong branding strategy really help a company, not just from a business point of view, but more importantly, from a people point of view?
Okay. So again, if I go back to what I first said, Ben, at the opening, because of digitalization and technology, this building that connection, that emotional connection with our customers is very different. So branding strategy today, I feel, is all about that, building that emotional connection, because people or the customers don't see you that much anymore, right? So it just is, we just have to work on that to make them still feel connected with us. And I mean, at the end of the day, our employees are going to be the brand ambassadors. So we want them to speak up. And when our own employees talk about our own experience, talk about what it is like working in the organization, or our customers talk about it, I think that's what the branding strategy, that's how people work. That's how we can start building that so-called, as I said, connection. So a brand at the end of the day is about us. We must be able to deliver our brand promise. And once we're able to, deliver what we stand for, what we promise, if we say, okay, to all the, say, for example, we say we believe in diversity, we believe in equality, all right? Then the brand, that's what the brand is, but we must deliver it. The promise must be there, okay? We must deliver our promise, and that's how then the whole strategy, this whole branding strategy that you're referring to, I think that's how we can make it work.
Now, that's those two words that you said just really stands out. Brand promise, which is the perfect way to lead to Datin Bad. With a brand promise, you need a brand story. So Datin Bad, can you also share some of your company's initiatives that have been successful in telling the right story to attract the ideal talent for your company?
Yeah, I can talk more about how we attract young talents, basically, because that's where our focus has been, on how we attract young talents. So the way we do it is, actually, I'm going to be joking. Yeah, we crowdsource this. we we have our young people, our young talent participants in our program, the alumni. They all. I mean, okay, thank God they had a good experience with us. So they tell the stories for us as well. So they tell the stories. We have a lot of stories on social media, the projects they do, the growth they've had. I think that's very important. So you can hear about them saying, this is what I learned, this is how I've grown. And I think those stories are very powerful, I feel. Because I don't think we can do it alone. I mean, if we tell what we do, it's not, I don't think it's going to bore people, but listening to the actual young talents that we groom, I think that's a great story to tell. So we do that. And so it's always, on social media, what we do campaigns around this, recruitment campaigns, obviously all on social media and all that. That's the kind of crowd we want to attract. And we did an interesting one as well. One of our programs, we kind of bring about 80 participants regionally. We take them out. We want to expose them, right? We want to expose them to businesses outside of Malaysia. So we take them. The last two has been Indonesia. So we take them out there so that they're exposed and they work on a business challenge that's not a Malaysian business challenge. Again, they have to think about culture, sensitivities, and various aspects that they might not get here. So what we did is, cut a long story short, that content, we took that content and we put it as a mini TV series. So it's called Face Off. So you see it. It's on YouTube and on our channel. And so for 2 years we've done this. So it's really interesting because you can follow a story, a real story, how they take, they go through a business challenge, right? And it's exciting because it is in a different place and they're competing against each other. So those stories, I think, without us having to tell too much about what we do, in a very flat form, I think it's more lively. It tells exactly, from a personal experience about the people who go through some of our programs. So that's been quite exciting and quite successful for us, without us having to do too much work.
That's all about working. So let's get relatively operational right now. And Ben, can you describe some of your company's recruitment exercises when it comes to this sort of thing, and traditional or non-traditional sort of way?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm going to relate to the panelists before this who talked about the traditional way with the Star newspaper job ads and the walk-ins, gone are the good old days. And what we have today is a totally different landscape. Yeah, we've got multiple channels to recruit people and talent to reach out to us. They have multiple channels as well. Unfortunately, it's a plethora. Is there too many of them out there? And can we get lost in all that noise? Yes, we can. So just what we do when we come to recruitment is we look at multiple avenues. So when I engage with fresh students or campus students, we now do things that allow a two-way engagement through hackathons. We go virtual because it's interesting. Pre-COVID and post-COVID, we did post-COVID, or the COVID world that we live in has accelerated everyone going digital, right? Or online. But I do think that the younger generation's appetite still remains to be digital as well. So I think this kind of resonates with them. So we do business challenges, we do hackathons, we do webinars, we engage with the university students, and then we get them to apply to us directly, and then we take it from there. We do headhunting for, like I said, niche skills. I mentioned Behance, there's Glassdoor, there's LinkedIn. There's so many media out there that you can actually headhunt. There's WhatsApp groups that we also headhunt people in. So recruitment has changed. It is, on one hand, there's a war for talent. And on the other hand, there is loads of talent out there who cannot find a match for themselves. So today's world is juggling both of this and then finding the best avenue, and it constantly changes. It evolves, it changes all the time. So my feedback to everybody is find your channel, find a way, multiple ways to engage, bring the best you have in those engagements, be authentic, be honest, and then you'll be discovered for sure. Yeah.
No, that is also a challenge and an opportunity at the same time. But you know what they say, you have to look at the opportunities, whether in a situation that's negative or relatively positive. But Felicia, how can, in your opinion, again, and VAT's opinion, I mean, let me just give a bit of a story to this question. We all know that it's not, I mean, we are the, or you are, or we are the employers. Okay, we have control of the situation, but digital has taught us no, we don't have control of the situation as much as we used to. Like Ben said, gone are the days of Star newspaper, walk-in interviews, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, some companies still do it, but very less. But these days, we have to work harder to tell the talent we are the right company for you. And Datin was saying earlier, war of talent, it does happen, you know, like FMCG, banking, the models are similar. So people are intertwining between industries. I see it all the time. I mean, I come from a family of bankers and a lot of their colleagues are from FMCG. So in terms of the question, in terms of what would be your advice, or what key points to look out for in terms of the right key messages, the right branding messages that are in one sentence, no fancy schmancy words, to ensure that the talent are fit and right for your company? Because they could be talented, but if they can't fit in, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, great question, Ben. I mean, if I were to summarize that into one, single sentence, I would say to look for the organization values, culture, and ethos that resonate with your own, and make sure that it jives with what you're looking for, because that's where you're going to be spending a lot of your time, at the workplace.
Right. And I've got 4 more questions to go, everyone, before we open it up. And Felicia, I'll stick with you on this one. But what would your advice on the key points in terms of to look out for, in terms of the right branding message to ensure that the talent, I mean, my 3 favorite words: management of expectations. When I sit down with a customer, what is your management of expectations? When I sit down with when my HR friends sit down with people, what is your expectation? If you think that you're going to become the boss in 6 months, please put that out of your head. If you think that we are expecting you to be the boss in 6 months, do put that in your head, because our boss is retiring or that manager is going for an expat assignment. I mean, again, how do you make sure the messages are right so the expectations are met, so everybody's happy and everybody's on the right page?
I think in essence, it really is about a two-way fit. Yeah, I think Ben mentioned it earlier, it's a dating game. So be very clear about what you're looking for. And there will come a time when you're able to engage with people from within the organization. So ask questions, about the fit factor. Because to me, at the end of the day, attracting people into the organization is one thing, but ensuring that they stay on and that they really have a robust employee experience is another. So, ensuring that there's clarity up front. And, a few key things to watch out for is, of course, as I touched on earlier, if there's no alignment between what you're expecting versus the company's, culture and values, that's already a big red flag. If you're a digital native, for example, and I believe all of you out there, young talent you are, right? And if the organization is still extremely archaic and, manual without any automation, you will struggle in there. Yeah, so these are things to watch out for. And I think especially true for the current generation. Yeah, you all want to give back to society. So, the organization ethos around the environment, social and governance piece, or the corporate social responsibilities also needs to speak to you. Otherwise, you'll find that you're not in sync, yeah, with what the value proposition is, and also the organization value. So I believe, that's some of the things to look out for, very much related to what you're looking for versus what the organization can give or bring to the table to you.
Nice, Felicia. Sorry, there was a bell that rang, so I had to press mute earlier. So, Ben, in terms of, I think you can share with us how your team works with companies like Rajan to create the right branding, to reinforce your employer brand, and to tell the story that your place is nice to work.
I think we've got lots of platforms to do this. So Grad1 is a great opportunity for us as well, especially when we're targeting a specific segment of the talent. I think one of the things that we should continue to look at is the multiple channels to attract the talent, right?
Yes.
So if you look at it, with Grad1, you have the opportunity to have webinars and engage. I still remember last year we had games and having game shows with students and get them attracted to the values demonstrated by the company itself in those forums. The other piece of it, I think, really very much, we have our employees become ambassadors to Dell. So tomorrow's session, for the Dell session, we're having a whole bunch of university students who joined us and tell their journey with us. So I think those authentic stories, those engagements, Grad1 gives us this avenue in multiple ways. You can even do your own webinars as an organization. So getting that message across out there, really very much telling everyone, this is the culture and soul of the company. And again, the culture fit, where people fail or succeed, really is not just the job fit, that's part of it, but it's really about the culture fit. Whether they make it or break it is the culture fit. And I think these avenues allow companies and talent to do these engagements very well.
Yeah, no, well said. And Dr. Hamida, in terms of social media has become a very important sphere for branding. I mean, we really hit that right on the nail, not just in this session, but in previous session as well. But in terms of how has this changed the way a company brands themselves to potential talent? I mean, because we always have to make it look sexy. We always have to make it look nice. But at the end of the day, as I always tell people, do you realize these companies are hiring you because they want to make money and, not spend any more money? So it's not kumbaya or, holding hands or whatever. It's business.
Yes, agree, Ben. And I also agree with Lady Ben as well. I got to call her the Lady Ben about, those days. Today is all social media, right? Through social media, but those days it just brought back memories. I actually applied my job for CIMB at CIMB through Star Papers, actually, and gone are those days. Yeah. So yes, Ben, social media and all this. I feel that with social media and this ability for everyone to express their opinions, right? This has made companies and the working culture more transparent. So I think that if we want to actually brand, the companies need to brand ourselves, it's a lot to do with the culture. So I feel that people are more likely to trust a company based on what the employees have to say than the recruitment advertising. So a lot, and many of the panelists have actually touched that, is about the employees themselves telling the stories and all that. But it is not just telling good stories to attract, I feel. It is that we must act out the good stories. So to act out the good stories is about, and we have touched this, all the right values, the behaviors, the culture, and everybody then can let the employees share their good stories. So that, for example, if I can touch a little bit of what we did at CIMB. So what I then did was that we embarked on a culture journey in 2015, knowing that people will talk about it using social media, using platform. So we built the brand from inside out. So we wanted to create that positive work culture where people can bring their best selves to work. And then, this positive culture will not be limited just within the company, but it allows people to just go out beyond that. And then, that's how people will then carry to candidates. So at the end of the day, happy teams, happy customers, and happy candidates.
No, that's really good, because you really got to tell the truth, and really, I mean what you say what you mean, and really relive those values that are on those pieces of paper that we spoke about. But that's it. But final question before we open it up to the panel, and sorry, not the panel, the virtual panel, really. And they're asking some very good questions. And thank you to the panel. And we do apologize, we can't get through everybody, but we'll take it offline a bit later. But with all due respect, there's a lot of information on social media. And I'm going to ask you the tough question of, how do you ensure that that information is relevant and that information is not, in terms of making the right choice when you're doing recruitment and talent acquisition and anything to do with people management and talent?
I think, we are in an era of digitalization, where you have data, actually, Ben. So if you want to be, to have relevant messages going out there on social media, and that's what social media is all about, right? It's a digital platform. You have the abundance of data. So if you work with a partner, they can, do analytics on this data. You can make your messages much more sharper and much more, to the right target audience. So that's what we've been doing. We use our partner, actually, one of our companies that does digital analytics in terms of the way we take messages out to clients, or we are a client in the sense. I think there's a lot of opportunities to be much more sharper and targeted because you just abundance of data, Ben. So much you can do with it.
No, that's really good what you said, Datin, but because I remember what Dato Hamida said to me in a previous panel that we did 2 months ago at CIMB. She used the data in an exercise to find out that what was bothering people at CIMB. And with that data, they came up with a proposal to sort of mitigate the issues internally. So well done to that for using the data, because people always say big data, this, that, and the other. I mean, it's sexy words, but what does it mean? Okay, because data can be like someone once told me as well. A statistician from the Immigration Malaysia said to me, people use numbers every day, but people use numbers to lie. So that was a scary statement in itself. So we all got to be very careful and sensitive on how we use data to make decisions, but the right decision, of course, in Datin Hamida's case. So ladies, I'm going to be very kind to you today. I'm going to ask you to think about that hashtag on how to sum up this topic, taking your brand online. So you can think about it, but you have to multitask. You have to think about it while answering questions from the virtual floor. So you can put that in the back of your head. I know Dato Hamida has the advantage because we worked together before in terms of this question in the previous Nestle event with Graduate on Spy a couple of months ago. But a really good question here, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at the laptop here on my left, so I'm not trying to be rude, but there's a question here from Asha Iwani binti Zainon at Muhammad Rastam. I mean, I do apologize, Aisha, if I mispronounce your name, but you've asked a very good question, a very operational question. And again, I mean, we're going to get the whole panel to answer this, quite tightly. What are some of the more common social media marketing mistakes businesses make, and and why is that a mistake in terms of learning from it to make things better? Ben, I'll start with you.
And I'll get off mute. All right.
Well done.
And I guess one of the biggest one, I think many of them alluded on this call, was about being consistent and authentic. Sometimes what happens is we send a message out there. Maybe it's an aspirational thing where we want to be seen as, but in reality, the company is not, or the business is not ready for it. And then we just send out a message. We resonate with a certain group of people. They come on board, and that's when it just falls apart in some cases. So really, I think really being honest, consistent, and if it's somewhere you want to go, call out, and that's where we want to be. And then I think that transparency, that authenticity, that consistent messaging will be really useful.
Okay. So what you're saying also in essence is that don't ever be arrogant enough to say sorry, yeah? Which is always the hardest thing to do sometimes. So Datin Bhatt?
Mistakes businesses have made, I think, plenty. I think if you want to be present in social media, you better have a very, very good structured way of listening to social media. I think you cannot afford to have your messages out there but yet not be able to respond correctly and timely. I think there's a famous, it's a business case actually, a famous that story in Nestle where he was just an intern who didn't know what to do when he was I think it was not sustainable palm oil or something. He was in a public space, and then he didn't do anything, and it caused so much damage to the product, right? So social listening and really having your technology platform to be able to socially listen and respond correctly, I think is important. Otherwise, don't take your brand online.
Okay, so know what you're getting yourself in for. Dato' Hamida, and then I'll go to Felicia.
I think it is. I think the mistakes will be if they don't deliver what the brand promise is.
Okay. Nicely put.
Sorry, that's just a quick summary on that. Yeah.
One sentence answer. That's the best answer to have. Felicia.
Yeah, for me, I think the mistake, which is probably very relevant, in today's world, is to remain static. Yeah, and in today's, very volatile, change-enabled world, the mistake of, just remaining very true to a proposition that served you well, say 3-4 years ago, is not going to cut it anymore. Yeah, so I think I'll just build on a point one of the panelists made earlier about listening, yeah, and also getting a feel of how to keep your brand fresh, relevant, right? And so that it also connects with people today who are probably a very different species from people, from 3-4 years ago already. Yeah, so that fluidity, that freshness, and also making it relevant to today's world is something that we should be looking out for.
Right. Now, very nicely put. And the second question is very interesting from Ivania Tivir or Teve. Again, I do apologize if I made a mistake pronouncing your name, Toipuchi, really. So I want to give context to this question because this is all questions are very good, but this is a very interesting question because we live in Malaysia where the culture of Malaysia will always emphasize and drive humility. Jangan perasan, jangan belagak, don't show off so much. And the new fancy word that millennials are using, they have to use in the last week, jangan poyo, don't be a show off. But you have to show off a bit if you want to get ahead. Okay, so where is that balance and what are the challenges faced in terms of young talents these days to promote themselves in terms of personal branding and how to overcome it? Because you're already going up against resistance. That like you're taught to be humble, but someone once said to me, if you want to advance your career, if you're going to be humble, then you're going to mumble. When you mumble, nobody hears you. So, Dr. Hamida, what's your views on that?
I like that. I like your words. Humble, and then be humble. If not, what? You'll mumble, is it?
If you mumble, to be humble, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay.
So again, I'm just going back to what I said about to the young people. Yes, you have to be authentic. You have to be real. You have to be original. Just promote what you have. Don't pretend to be someone else. There's just so much out there in the social media. You can get influence and all that. Just promote what you have and be visible with that. That will do.
Okay. Ben?
This is a common thing that people think that showing off and being visible are the same thing, and they're not. Yeah. And for the younger audience, and I must say this, being visible means paying attention, being present. You don't have to always ask questions to be visible, but the sheer fact that when you're engaged, you're interested, you're curious, I think all that carries a lot of weight. I just don't want people to think that, oh, that's a show off. She's sitting in the front of the class and therefore she's a show off. It's not. Yeah, I think it's about that the sincerity of that person wanting to get to know something. So I think don't get this mixed up. We live in Malaysia, and one of the biggest challenges in Malaysia, and again, Ben, I want to call this out. I'm born, bred, and raised in Malaysia. I've never studied overseas, all the time here. So I get, but I'm in a global world. And I understand that when you get on a global call, Malaysians don't speak. And I'm like, oh, let's speak. We've got something to say, so let's speak. So again, don't get this mixed up, show off and being present, being and speaking out is not the same. Yeah. So just use your judgment. To Dr. Hamida's point, do your homework, build your skill sets, be present, be visible. And I think that's it. You're good.
That's it, Sri?
Yeah, I think I always try to have this is an advice I can give to the young people, have a balance, to balance this out, have a mental model around, if you have the knowledge to share or a question to ask in order to make the discussion a lot more richer, do it, do it. It's not about showing off. It's about making it richer, making the decisions better at the end because you're voting something. The last thing you want is people are too shy to even ask what is in their mind, and they leave that meeting or that forum or whatever it is, not knowing as much as they could. So if you have that mental model, this is not about showing off. This is me. Yeah, it's all about being authentic. Being authentic. I really want to know. I really want to know. I really want to share. And I want the decision to be better. I want a better outcome. So be it. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. And Felicia, I know BAT for a fact encourages positive visibility. So it's very much engrossed in the culture in BAT. What's your view on that?
Absolutely.
And connected to the question about promoting oneself, but navigating that resistance that we spoke about.
No, absolutely, Ben. And at BAT here, we do advocate that you bring your difference. Yeah, and your difference can come in many forms. It can be your opinion, it can be your view, it can be what you want to share and challenge. And in today's, spirit of advocating diversity and inclusion, yeah, we are also on the lookout for people to bring a fresh pair of eyes to look at things that perhaps we've done the same way, over and over again, which may not serve us well, in the future. So the young talents out there do have a part to play, yeah, in bringing their difference, and at the same time also, challenging the norms and status quo. So, I'm all for speaking up, sharing your opinions and being bold, yeah, to say what you want to put across.
Very nicely put. And the final question before we go to the hashtag question is that I'm looking at the computer once again. This is from Razwin Rowena. To the panel, everybody will always say, sell your strengths. Okay, sell your strengths so that you can get in the door. So what would you tell people to focus on as a starting point in their careers in terms of branding themselves, which is connected to their strength? What's your views on that? And Ben, I'll start with you.
Sure. Very much be present, be engaged, be curious. And then my advice to everyone, do all the hard stuff early in life, right? Do the stretch assignments, do things that scare you first. It'll be a breeze in later life. If you don't do the hard stuff first, you may end up building habits or behaviors that are hard to overcome in future. So again, I encourage people to really go out there, do the hard stuff, be present, be visible, and you'll be fine. You'll be good.
Nice. Doesn't bad?
Yeah, for a young person starting out, I think attitude is very, very important. The attitude of wanting to learn. So the last thing we want is someone who's come in who doesn't know very much, obviously, about a lot of things. But if they have the right attitude and they're open to learning, there's a lot they can learn and build their own brand. So that attitude is very important. So don't complain too much. Because I agree with Ben, the other Ben, because when you knock about when you're young, it's okay. There's nothing to worry about. It's when you're old and you're being knocked about. You don't want that. You're too shy then. Yeah.
Nice. Felicia.
Yeah, I'll build on all of the above and say that it's immensely important, yeah, to stay hungry, yeah, be curious, ask the questions, do all the tough stuff at the start, but more importantly, show up every day, with that drive and that passion to want to do more and step out of your comfort zone.
Okay, and Dr. Hamida?
Okay, so everyone, my advice would be each of us have our own strengths and our own weaknesses, all right? So look for opportunities to contribute your strengths. Look for a place where your strengths can be visible and have values, and be open to learning. So treat everyone every day, as an opportunity.
right, fantastic stuff, ladies. Okay, who wants to go first because our final question, who wants to go first in answering the hashtag question?
I can go first because my hashtag is hashtag courage. How can I not go first?
I'll go second. Hashtag authentic.
Okay, so courage CA, yeah? So courage authentic. Who's next? Felicia or Datinbat?
Perhaps genuine. Same as authentic. If I can offer another one, Ben, I can offer.
I won't charge you, Datin, because
visible.
my favorite word.
Yes, and lucky last. For me, it's dynamic. Yeah.
So this panel, now one thing that we, to our viewers, one thing that we always have to do is be different. So this panel is being different. Why are they being different? They've given us 5 hashtags, not 4. The other 2 panels gave us 4. So how did they stand out from the other 2 panels? They gave us 5. 5 very good ones: courage, being authentic, genuine, visible, and dynamic on the topic, taking your brand online. On behalf, ladies, you've been fantastic. We could go on and on, but you know, time permits us. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your passion, your effort. If any of our viewers learn anything from this session, is to enjoy your job. Don't drag your feet to work, jump to work, okay? Drive safe, of course, but you know, jump to work and enjoy the day and enjoy the mistakes, because that makes you better, because mistakes will always lead to great milestones, career milestones, and career milestones will get you high up the ladder to keep smiling in your career forevermore. Good times and challenging times, of course. Thank you once again, ladies. Before we end, just a housekeeping announcement. We have the Maybank presentation at 3:30 p.m. Debanking Myths, Reality Bites. Okay, so please join us at that session at 3:30. And again, we do apologize that we couldn't answer all the questions, not just in this session, but in previous sessions as well. But please, I mean, I know most of our panel here, they're very friendly, they're very warm. Send us in the comments here. We'll communicate with them by email. See, the phone is already ringing. The phone is already ringing, so the questions are coming in thick and fast, okay? So we're taking the questions by phone and by email, and we'll reach out to our panel. The panel, you have a great Saturday. Say hello to everybody in your respective companies, because I worked with a lot of them in HR and corporate affairs. And tell them Ben Ibrahim says hello, and you guys are doing very, very well and great advocates of employee branding in your respective companies, okay?
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Ben, for
Thanks, ladies.
facilitating. See you guys.
Good weekend.